everyone. In last session we have discussed about concrete mix design. In today's session we are going to see about properties of fresh concrete. It includes what is meant by fresh concrete, what are the properties are there, and the tests which are involved to determine the properties of fresh concrete. Let's see what is meant by fresh concrete. When the concrete in plastic stage is said to be fresh concrete. Concrete remains in fresh stage from the time it is mixed until it sets. During this time, the concrete is handled, transported, placed and compacted. Fresh concrete can be molded into any shape. The properties of fresh concretes are consistency, workability, segregation, bleeding, plastic shrinkage, setting time and water cement ratio. Let's see one by one. Consistency is the measure of stiffness or sloppiness or fluidity in a concrete mix. For effective handling, placing and compacting the concrete, consistency must be same for each batch. If the concrete mix is too wet, segregation may be occur, which is the result of honeycombing, excessive bleeding and sand streaking on the formed surfaces. If the concrete mix is too dry, it may be difficult to placing and compaction. Next one is workability. It indicates the easy or difficulty in which the concrete is handled, transported, placed and compacted. The amount of water present in the concrete mix should be in the proper ratio. Next one is segregation. Segregation is the separation of constituent materials of concrete. Segregation has three types. The first one, the coarse aggregate, is separation out from the concrete, and then second one, the cement paste, is separation out from the coarse aggregate, and the last one, the water which comes out from the rest of the material. This type of concrete is weak because due to the lack of cohesiveness and homogeneity and insufficient mixed material in concrete. Next one is bleeding. Bleeding is the particular form of segregation in which the water from the concrete comes out to the concrete surface. The water is rising to the surface carries with cement particles and sand particles, which on hardening and form a scum layer is said to be latent. Bleeding takes place on highly wet mix. Next one is plastic shrinkage. After the fresh concrete has been placed in forms, concrete undergoes an volumetric contraction before the concrete set is said to be plastic shrinkage. Next one is setting time. When the concrete changes its stage from the fresh to hardened, is said to be setting, and the duration it takes place the concrete changes is said to be setting time. Next one is water cement ratio. The ratio of amount of water to the amount of cement by weight is said to be water cement ratio. The strength and quality of the concrete depends upon this ratio. Let's see the various steps which involved to determine the properties of fresh concrete. Slump test, flow table test, compaction factor test, BB consistometer test. Let's see the slump test. Slump test is a laboratory or a site test to measure the consistency of the concrete. It indicates the uniformity of concrete for different batches. The shape of the concrete slump gives the information about the workability and quality of concrete. The principle behind the slump test result is a measure of the behavior of the compacted inverted cone of concrete under the action of gravity. Let's see the apparatus required to conduct the slump test. Metallic mold with a frustum cone of height 30 cm and bottom base 20 cm and top diameter 10 cm and a steel tamping rod of 16 mm diameter and 2 feet long. Let's see the procedures to conduct the slump test. First of all, the internal surfaces of the mold is cleaned and free from moisture. Then the mold is placed on the smooth, horizontal, rigid and non-absorbent surfaces. Then the mold is filled with the concrete in 4 layers. Each layer is tamped by 25 times with the help of tamping rod. Then level the top surfaces by using a trowel. Then the mold is lifted vertically up to allow the concrete with its own weight. The free concrete deform all the surfaces to subside. The subsidence of concrete is the slump of concrete. The height difference between the height of the concrete cone and the mold cone in mm is known as the slump value of concrete. After removing the mold from the concrete slumps takes place various shapes, that is true slump, collapse slump and shear slump. True slump is the only verified slump which indicates the measure as the difference between the height of the concrete to the height of the cone. Collapse slump is due to the higher water cement ratio. The shape of the slump is not a clear dimension. And then shear slump is similar to the shear failure of soil, which indicates the lack of cohesiveness in the concrete mix ingredients. In this chart shows the slump value of concrete for different degree of workability for various placing conditions. Let's say the flow table test. Flow table test is used to measure the fluidity of concrete where the nominal sizes of aggregate does not exist 38 mm. The apparatus used to conduct the flow table tests are metallic mold in the shape of frustum cone of height 12 cm and bottom diameter as 25 cm and top diameter as 17 cm and steel stamping rod of 16 mm diameter and 2 feet long and float table with a grip and hinge of 17 cm by 70 cm. Let's see the procedure to conduct the flow table test. The table top and inside the mold is cleaned and wetted and remove the excess water. The mold is placed on the center of the table. Then the mold is filled with concrete in 2 layers. Each layer is stamped by 25 times with the help of tamping rod and levels the top surfaces of the concrete using a trowel. And then the table is allowed to be raised and dropped at 12.5 mm 15 times in 15 seconds. Then the concrete is spreaded on the table. Then the diameter of spreaded concrete is measured at 6 different directions and take the averages. The formula used to calculate the flow table test is as spread dia in centimeter minus 25 divided by 25 multiply 100. The ranges could between 0 to 150%. Next one is compaction factor test. Compaction factor test is the workability test for concrete which is conducted in laboratory. The compaction factor test is the ratio of weight of partially compacted concrete to the fully compacted concrete. The compaction factor test is used in concrete for which lower workability which is not suitable for slump cone test. Let's see the apparatus. Compaction factor apparatus, it consists of trowels, hand scoop and steel rod. Let's see the procedures for compaction factor test. Place the sample of concrete gently on the upper hoop to its brim and level it on the hand scoop. Then cover the cylinder. Then open the trapdoor on the upper hopper at the bottom. Then the concrete allowed to fall into the lower hopper. Then remove the concrete which sticks on the sides of the hopper. Then open the trapdoor at the bottom of the lower hopper and allow the concrete to fall into the cylinder. Then the cylinder level the top surfaces with using a trowel and place the concrete in the weighting machine and weight the cylinder with concrete. This weight is known as partially compacted concrete. Empty the cylinder and refill the same concrete mix with fully compaction. Then weight the cylinder. This weight is known as fully compacted concrete. Then find the weight of the empty cylinder. The formula used to determine the compaction factor test are W1 minus W divided by W2 minus W. The compaction factor ranges between the 0.7 to 0.95. Let's see about VB consistometer test, which is used to measure the mobility and compactability of concrete. The apparatus required are VB consistometer, vibrator table, slump cone, glass disc with a tamping rod. Let's see the procedure. Place the slump cone in the consistometer machine and then fill the cone with the concrete in 4 layers. Each layer is compacted by 25 times with the help of tamping rod. After that, place the glass disc on the top of the slump cone to measure the initial reading. After that, remove the mold vertically up without disturbing the concrete. Then place the again glass disc on the top of the concrete and measure the final reading. After that, turn on the electrical vibrator machine. Then evenly switch on the stopwatch until the concrete remolded and then the surface of the concrete becomes horizontal. It continues the vibrations. Once the surface of the concrete becomes horizontal in the cylindrical part, turn off the machine and stopwatch. Then record the timings, which is the VB seconds. Let's come to an end of the session. Hope you all understand about the properties of fresh concrete. In the upcoming session, we are going to see about properties of hardened concrete. Thank you.